And living with a condition does not mean that you have to give up on all the things that you used to enjoy, all the things that used to make life meaningful, joyful. But I can really understand why you may think so, because when you're not able to do all the things that you used to do effortlessly, like making plans to go out with your friends, with your family, like going for a brisk walk when you needed, when you felt like running after your children and paying your children, and you're in constant pain, it can feel like the life that you once had is completely over and it's never going to come back. And you feel stressed and upset and frustrated because things are not what they used to be, right? But that is what I'm talking about today, because the life that many people had once before their diagnosis has now been consumed by their disease, right? And but that does not have to be how you live the rest of your life. My name is Anindita, and I am a functional medicine certified health coach and a practitioner. And today I'm talking about why nurturing your body beyond your diagnosis is so important, right? So think about this. Does getting a diagnosis mean that what you consider normal is over, right? So one way to look at it is that what you considered normal actually has to change, and that is completely up to you. Changing the definition and creating a new normal is in your hands, because what happens is that we have to change certain things. Like there are certain limitations that come in when we are dealing with any kind of chronic illness. That's part of life, but it does not mean that it has to limit and that we have to live under with severe restrictions. That often actually comes from the mindset that we have. So if you think about it, it's not so much about the disease as it is about the mindset. Because if you look around for examples, right, aren't there enough people in this world who have dealt with major blows in their lives, right? They have been raped, they have been tortured, maybe jailed, they've lost a limb, they have all had all these kind of issues, and yet they have been able to make something of their life, right? They have recreated a life, they have created a new normal, and they have been able to inspire others and empower others through living their life in a new and a different way. In other words, they have created a new normal. Because what happens when you continue to live with this kind of a mindset, when you continue to live life in this manner? One is you feel isolated, and you continue to feel isolated because you are not able to participate in the activities that you once used to. Second, you constantly feel frustrated and angry around losing your independence, and that sort of kind of eats you up from inside. And third, you feel an overwhelming sense of grief, loss, or hopelessness, because things that you could once do effortlessly you can't really do now, right? And it's not that there's anything wrong with feeling like this, but what is definitely crippling for most of us, and that's why I am so passionate about talking about this part of a diagnosis, is that if you remain stuck in this kind of negativity, it's really hard to see the bigger picture. It's really hard to motivate yourself to do anything or take any steps to support your body's healing process, because you're constantly looking at all the things that have gone wrong, right? And it's important to grieve that loss of life that you once had. It's important to appreciate that the anger has a role to play in your emotions. It is important to, these are all natural things, that make us human. There's nothing wrong with these kind of emotions. But if you're not able to work through them, if you're not able to accept and acknowledge them, right, that's what we end up doing. And so that ends up eating us from inside, and it really does not help us in taking healthier decisions or making changes in our life. Because isn't that what what is needed when you're dealing with any kind of chronic illness? Is making changes in your behavior, making changes in your habit, in your thought pattern, so that you can continue with medications, treatments, change your diet, change your lifestyle. It involves a lot of change, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty involved as well. So you could take the best of medications and be on the best of treatments and still not see any sustainable results. Of course, you would see some results for a while, but you would not probably be able to see sustained results because you've not really made these changes from the inside out, and it's really hard. But here's what you can do instead, right? These are three things that you can do instead. Number one, find empowerment through self-care and setting boundaries around your energy, right? And there's so many different ways that you can do that, but it's about understanding and appreciating the importance of self-care, right? Where you put your needs first right now, especially when your body needs it the most, so that you can show up for others, right? And this is especially true when you're dealing with any kind of chronic illness. In fact, I use a CARE model, and I teach my clients who are women with autoimmune conditions and other chronic illnesses how to do this and how to make it a part of their daily life, right? So C stands for create an empowering self-care plan. A stands for access your inner wisdom and guidance. R stands for replenish and restore balance. And E stands for embrace stress with ease and softness, right? So that's the CARE model. So, but just finding ways to incorporate self-care into a daily routine is really, really important. Number two is exploring creative outlets and practices that help you find purpose and meaning. So by this I mean, all the childhood activities or many childhood activities that you used to enjoy and which you might have let go of, or maybe your disease has not allowed you to continue with some of the activities. It might be jogging, it might be running. So a lot of these things can fall by the wayside, especially as we become older, as we become adults. So, it's just cultivating a new hobby, right? Hobbies can be as simple as knitting or sewing, something that eases your mind, gives you a sense of purpose, and then what happens, you can build a community or join a community around a new hobby, whether it can be anything. It can be playing an instrument, it can be singing, it can be creative writing, right? There's so many amazing ways that you can develop, cultivate and find new hobbies, especially in today's day and age, in today's digital age. So doing that, exploring your creative outlets can really energize you, right? Really make life meaningful once again. So number one I mentioned was finding empowerment through self-care. Number two is exploring creative outlets. And number three is focusing on listening to your body's needs and nurturing yourself holistically. That's what actually, this is the most important point that I'm making today. Because by listening to your body, you are being guided by your own body's wisdom. And that's exactly what actually my entire coaching program is about, where I use a 3-pillar body-wise healing framework. Reconnect, sustain and simplify. So when you're guided by your own body, your body is basically telling you what needs to be done, whether you're on the right path or not, what needs to be changed, all of it. When you're making progress, maybe something that you've had and that's not really suiting you. It's a beautiful way to take a holistic approach and incorporate it along with any medications or treatments that you're on, right? And because you're guided by your own body, you can't really go wrong. So focusing on listening to your body's needs will look like making, again, time for self-care activities. It will be prioritizing rest and sleep when you need to. So you will take a nap when you need to. On days that you have a flare-up, it can be spending time in outdoors or with nature just to get some fresh air. It can be gentle exercises like walking, stretching, on other kinds of restorative yoga, tai chi, etc. And of course, maybe just focusing on putting a filter on the media consumption. So, you are focusing more on inspiring podcasts, books, articles, so there are ways to do that. And that's something that I personally am very, very careful about, what I allow to enter into my psyche, into my world. I'm very, very careful about what kind of media outlets that I am reading. So some of these ideas just to give you a head start. So number one was, I said, finding empowerment through self-care. Number two is exploring creative outlets and practices. And number three is focusing on listening to your body's needs and nurturing yourself, right? So I want to ask you this. Do you really want to live a life that is limited by a belief that because what you once considered normal no longer exists, you can no longer live a life that is meaningful and fulfilling? Is that what you believe? Or Are you now ready to embrace a possibility that your diagnosis, of course, has changed things? You have certain limitations imposed on you. Things have changed, maybe become more uncertain, etc. But you have the power to create a new vision of normalcy, right? A new way of living life, a new normal, actually. Because at the end of the day, you need to remember this: your disease and diagnosis need not define you. And that's something that, again, I teach my clients right from day one. This is something that I taught my daughter when she was going through a severe health crisis that led me to the path that I am on today, and the passion that I have in creating awareness about chronic illnesses, that I did not allow my daughter's disease diagnosis to define her. She was so much more than her diagnosis, right? And your diagnosis need not define you. And so rather than allowing yourself to be restricted by what you've lost or given up, if you focused your mindset to what unique strengths you have, right? What opportunities you've been given, all the insights that your disease has actually given you. And a lot of people actually completely transform their lives in spite of and because of a chronic illness, right? What a beautiful life you could still live, right? So you can actually rebuild an identity and a lifestyle that is your new normal. That's what it means, right? And you have that power to do that, because you're not, as I think Louis has said this, you're not so much responsible for your illness as to your illness, right? So that's what it means. So you have the power to change the way you are thinking, and you have the power to change your life. So I would love to know your thoughts on today's topic. I think it's a pretty important topic, just like any other thing that you might be already doing to take care of your health. So I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Do share them below and tag a friend who needs to hear this today.